Hi BookTube, Sarah here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with a special video. Today should have been, another in the series of The Beginner's Guide to Romance. That will be coming on Saturday, I promise. So this weekend, Friday through Monday, is actually going to be a little bit of a bombardment of videos from me. I do apologize. Friday reads will be going up on Friday. I'm going to have the Beginner's Guide to Romance video on Saturday, another video on Sunday, and then my Monday usual upload of my weekly vlog. So what happened was, the reason this is going up is because last Friday I actually hit 2,000 subscribers. So yay! So this is a bit of a 2,000 subscriber celebration, if you will. So I was trying to think of what I want to do, whether I want to do a Q&A or what have you. I think I might save the Q&A for when I hit 2,500. But I found there was actually two tags that I kind of wanted to do, and I'm going to mesh them together. So I'm calling it the 2020 questions tag. So they are two different tags of 20 questions each. The first set I'm going to do are very bookish, very, very bookish questions. The second set are a little bit more about you in a way, but some relatively obscure things. So I will explain when I get there. I've got my Kindle Fire, of course, here to help me out because I've got all of the questions written down here in a Google Doc. So yeah, I'm just super, super pleased that I hit 2,000 subscribers. I am so pleased with that. I am so thankful to all of you who watch and who comment. I really appreciate it. And I just thought that this would be a lot of fun for anyone new who has joined or has subscribed to my channel recently. So I've got my morning coffee because it's still relatively early as I'm filming this from Starbucks. So grab a drink of choice. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. And also, I am going to be trying out some brand new editing software. So if I can put pictures up here, I will. I do not know if I can do that or not yet. I think I can, but I know it's got the capability, but can I figure it out is the question. So I'm going to do my best to put pictures up here, but if there is not, I do apologize. So cheers. Let's get started with the questions. So the first one is the 20 questions book tag. And this I found on a channel called Get Bookish. I do not see that she linked it somewhere else, but it also didn't show that it was the original, so I don't know. I'm going to list her video in the description box below, along with all of these questions in case this is a tag that you might like to do yourself. So, and I did check on my channel. I don't think I've done this before. So, first question is, how many books is too many books in a series, like a book series? And my answer to that is however many the author wants to write. I don't think that putting a cap on a series is fair. Like, oh, it's got to stop at 10 books or whatever. I mean, if an author wants to continue writing it, as long as you're not at any point jumping the shark, if you will, and going into some really weird territory and just kind of writing for the sake of writing, I think the In Death series is over 50 and people still love that series. So, I don't see a problem with having a long-running series. On the other end, I know the Jan Ivanovich, the Stephanie Plum series, a lot of people who are reading that one are pretty much saying it needs to end, just for the sole fact that stuff just still isn't getting resolved after 25 books or however many there are. Another series that I can think of outside of the romance genre is the Cat Who Mystery series by Lillian Jackson Braun, which stopped being written many, many, many years ago. But it was funny, so I was just talking to my friends Brie and Chloe and Alana about this last night, about when authors should maybe call it quits. And I was mentioning that the last 4 or 5 books in that series really fell off the rails. And I found out later that it was because the author was ill and couldn't write anymore. I mean, she wrote the first books in the 60s and then went ahead and came back and wrote more books starting in the 80s, so through the 80s and 90s, and by then she was elderly, like she was in her 70s or 80s, and I think the last 4 or 5 books were all ghostwritten. So when that comes to be a thing and the writing caliber just isn't there, it's time to call it quits. But other than that, free reign, especially if it's like a romance series set in a small town. You have an entire town that you can set up and matchmake with as the author. I think that's fantastic. Let's hope not all the questions are this long. How do you feel about cliffhangers? I do not read books that contain cliffhangers. I think that's a thing in like fantasy or YA. You typically don't get that in romance, at least with the romance that I read. I know that in some of the other romance series that some of my friends read, that, you know, there may be shorter books or what have you, and it ends with a cliffhanger and then goes on to the next book. In they don't bother me. It's just not something I tend to read. I notice it more with television shows. And I noticed like the two big ones for me were back, I mean, many years ago. Now that everything is streamed, people get, you know, they can't experience it the way that we experienced it when we first watched these shows, like The X-Files, for example, which I'm rewatching right now on Prime. You know, at the end of was it the end of season 1? When Mulder gets locked in that train car and it explodes or something like that. And that's the end of like the episode. And it says to be continued. And we had to wait from like May until September for the new season, you know, like, or the Who Shot Mr. Burns with The Simpsons. It was agony. Kids today just do not understand what it was like. But for cliffhangers in books, if I know there's going to be a cliffhanger, I would definitely want to have the next book at the go to be able to jump right in and read it. That way I'm not reading a whole bunch of stuff in between and like, okay, what actually happened? You know what I mean? Number 3, hardback or paperback. If you're making me pick from those two only, because if you know me and have been watching me for a while, I am an ebook and audiobook aficionado. So, you know, I love having my physical books, don't get me wrong, but if given the choice, I would read digitally. But if given the choice between paperback and hardback, I would probably go with paperback. Most likely a nice floppy paperback, because these I prefer. I prefer this size. Like, I don't mind that's a trade paperback. I don't mind a little mass market, but I much prefer the trade paperbacks because they're a little bit bigger. But I prefer these over a hardcover, because a hardcover is just too heavy. You can't really carry it around easily. Yes, you can probably fit it in your purse or your bag for work, but then it's heavy, and yeah, I'm not all about, no. Favorite book. I looked at the questions ahead of time to think about this one. Excuse me, it's going to drive me crazy that this book is on the floor. Sorry about that. So, did it get bent? Please don't. Oh, good. It didn't. Yay. Okay. Side note, this was a really cute book. I read it last Christmas. It's called Mutts and Mistletoe by Natalie Cox. It's super duper adorable. I really enjoyed it, so I had to keep a copy of it. Favorite book. I had a hard time trying to think about this one. As you guys can you see it from where I'm sitting? It is, where is it sitting? Oh, you can't see this shelf right beside me here. Oops. My copy of Gone with the Wind sits here. Gone with the Wind is one of my favorite books, but I understand it's very, very problematic, and I'm not going to get into that. But outside of that, my favorite book would probably have to be Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I love this book. I love this series. You know, there's a lot of books that are in series that I'm like, oh, I really like that book, but I didn't quite like the next book or what have you. This entire series stands up as being absolutely fantastic, and I really, really love it. It has a little bit of everything. It's historical fiction, it's romance, it's time travel. It's, you know, it's all the great things wrapped up into one, and if you get a chance to listen to it on audio, the narration by Davina Porter is out of this world. It is brilliant. I love her narration. This series for sure is one of my favorites, and that book for sure. I gotta mention Outlander only because it's the first one. Least favorite book. In recent memory, because I'm sure there were a lot of other books that I really didn't like, was Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. That book was just, I'm sorry, I know that there are a gazillion Colleen Hoover fans out there, and unfortunately the first book that I read by her was Maybe Someday, and I have absolutely no interest in reading the author again. It dealt with cheating, and not in a good way. You know, it was very much condoned, and I didn't like the characters, and I think I gave that book like a 1 star. I did finish it because it was one of those, you know, it's such a train wreck I can't turn away. I really hated that book. I'm sorry for anyone who actually really liked it. Each to our own, you know what I mean? But I just did not like that book at all. Love triangles, yes or no? No. Just no. I think I'm looking at this now thinking, maybe this is more of a gear towards more YA, because I don't think you typically see a lot of love triangles in a lot of contemporary romance, at least not in the way that you see it in YA contemporary or YA fantasy or whatever. I'm not trying to generalize, but typically that's something that's talked about a lot in YA literature. The most recent book you couldn't finish. Beginning of this year, I attempted to read bookshop on the, no, it wasn't the bookshop on the corner. I'll pop the cover up on here. The little, if I can, the Little Paris Bookshop or something. It was by Rebecca Raisin, and I just didn't like it. The main character drove me crazy. I was listening to it on audio, and I just couldn't get through it. I'm like, no, I cannot read this book. I'm sorry, I don't like it at all. A book that you're currently reading. So currently, I am listening to Phantom Evil by Heather Graham, and I am loving it. It's a reread. I think it's a lot of fun. It's book 1 in the Crew of Hunter series. I've decided that I'm going to make my way back through the Crew of Hunter series, and I'm so happy to be started with book number 1. The last book you'd recommend to someone. I just finished the other day, Just One of the Guys by Kristen Higgins, which was another reread for me. I recommend that book to everybody. It is a great contemporary romance series. It is clean in a sense where all the adult content happens behind closed doors or is fade to black. It's such a wonderful story, and I absolutely love it. The oldest book you've read as per publication date. I didn't look this one up, but I'm pretty sure it's A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Do I have it here somewhere? Right here. Hold on. Bear with. There's my copy of it. So I think, is this a Penguin? Yeah, it's a Penguin copy. Does it give the date? 1843. So I think, yes, this was probably is the oldest book that I've ever read as per publication date. The newest book I've read as per publication date, last week I read Killer Kung Pao by Vivian Chen, which is book 6 in the Noodle Shop mystery series. That book does not come out till August 25th. So it hasn't even been published yet, and I've already read it, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. If you like cozy mysteries, definitely check that one out. My favorite author, you're asking me to pick one. I'm going to put an S on that just because. Again, you're getting to know me as a reader. Maisie Yates, Jill Shalvis, Susan Wiggs, Susan Mallory, Kristen Higgins, Heather Graham. I will list all of these in the description box below. All of my favorite authors. I love them to pieces, and they are all auto-buy. There are more, I'm sure, that I am missing. Julia Quinn, Eloisa James. Oh gosh, bear with. Let me see here. Am I forgetting? Christina Lauren. Penny Reed. There are a lot of them. So like I said, I'll list them all in the description box below. Don't ask me to pick a favorite. It's like trying to pick a favorite child or a favorite pet. You just can't do it. Buying books or borrowing books. I'm good with both. I like to own books, clearly. I collect the Harlequin imprints. As you can see, this is shelf number 1. I have shelf number 2 over there. There will be probably a third bookcase going in here soon. But I am more than happy to borrow books, either from the library or from like Scribed or Hoopla or anything like that. I think that's a great way to consume books as well. Borrowing is always a good thing. You do not have to own all the books, you guys. As great as that sounds, you don't have to own all the books. A book you dislike that everyone else seems to love. I'm going to mention again, Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I think everybody, like, that has such a high rating on Goodreads that I was in the, minority on that one, not liking it. Bookmarks or dog ears, bookmarks all the way. Right over my shoulder, right there, is my my Read Bliss mug, and it's filled with bookmarks that I've been buying. I have a thing, I love bookmarks, I don't know why. But I don't care if someone dog ears pages, whatever. A book you can always reread. Again, another one that I just already mentioned, which was Just One of the Guys by Kristen Higgins. I have reread it 4 times. I have reread Outlander 4 times. I have reread Gone with the Wind 3 times. Phantom Evil, this is my second reread through it. You can't see because it's way up there. But Christy's great idea, the first book in the Babysitters Club, I reread probably about 20 times. And I keep buying new editions of it as well, just because I can. Excuse me. Can you read while hearing music? Yes. I actually have a playlist on YouTube, a couple of playlists. I found these ASMR rooms, and it's like this pretty visual, and it's just with background noise. It's not music per se. If there are lyrics, the answer is no. But if it's just noise, yes. And it's like, there was one that was put out recently, like in July for like the 4th of July or whatever. And you can hear like crickets and like an owl and, you know, that lovely nighttime sound. And I just have that generally playing in the background when I'm reading. And it's really soothing, and it's just a little bit of ambiance, if you will. One POV or multiple POVs, I'm good with both. It's all that is fine by me. I do enjoy it when I'm listening to a book on audio, and if there's multiple POVs, they have different narrators. I think that's always a lot of fun. And did I miss question 20? Oh, I think question 20 is to tag people. Okay, so question 19 is, do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? Generally over multiple days. I don't just, I do like to just sit and read, but I for some reason, finishing a book in a single day is just, it makes me feel discombobulated. I don't know why. I like reading books over multiple days. So that was the first 20 questions tag. So let's get into the second 20 questions tag. And this one is called the random 20 questions tag. And this was put out by Steve Donahue a few weeks ago. And I really liked the questions, and he tagged everybody. So I just thought that these would be kind of fun. Again, they're really quirky, you know, stuff that you wouldn't generally ask about a person, but they're just kind of fun. So I thought I'd go through them. So question number 1 is, what is the nearest place to you that's so famous everybody knows it, and how near is it? So when I first heard Steve doing this tag, of course, I was trying to answer the questions myself as he was doing it. And at first I thought the CN Tower, downtown Toronto, which is about a half an hour from me. But then I realized that it no longer is the world's tallest freestanding structure. So maybe not everybody knows about it. So I would have to say then it would be Niagara Falls, which is about a 2-hour drive from me. If you look at a map, I am just east of Toronto, so drive around the lake to Niagara Falls, and it's beautiful there if you've never been, if you ever get the chance. It's stunning. And the falls that everybody is familiar with, because I actually got into a disagreement with a girl I used to work with in the States, that the Horseshoe Falls, the ones that are famous, the ones that all the pictures are done of, those are Canadian. Those are on the Canadian side, because she insisted that they were American. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Those are Canadian. The American Falls, just as nice, but not the Horseshoe Falls. Question number 2. Have you ever had a paper cut so bad you thought you might die of it? No, but I have had paper cuts from file folders. Ooh. Working in an office, these things happen, and oh, those are, I'm cringing just thinking about it. They're horrible. Number 3, have you ever found anything generally valuable in a used book that you bought? Not valuable in terms of monetary value, but I remember one time, now I didn't buy this book, but I was at a thrift store and I had pulled a book off a shelf and I was looking through it, and I could see at the top that there was something in it. And you know, we've all done it. You often see a bookmark in like a used book at a thrift store. And I thought it was a bookmark, so I went to pull it out, and it was actually a sonogram picture. like the baby in utero or whatever. And I'm just like, I wanted to know the story. Like, how did this end up in this book? Who put it there? Was it the mom? Was it the dad? Was it the grandparents? Like, who uses that as a bookmark? I wanted to know the story, and I just thought it was so funny. But yeah, that's one of the weirdest things I found in a used book. Question 4, have you ever read, met, or married Jacques Razoun? Since I can't even pronounce his name, I'm going to go with no on all those things. I have no idea who that person is. I'm sorry. Number 5, aside from your pets, what is the specific non-human animal you see most often? That one, squirrels would probably be number 1 because we get a lot of them in the area. But the other one would be raccoons, the unofficial mascot of the city of Toronto. They are all over the place. We have a family of them that live behind the house. I'm pretty sure they took up residence in the shed over the winter time. And I know my parents had a group of them living underneath their front deck for a while. And we had a bunch of them at the apartment too that they would come. I know a lot of people don't like raccoons who have to deal with them, but I just think they're so adorable and so sweet looking. And yeah, they're very intelligent. They're highly intelligent. There was one, was it last summer, that actually got down into the subway and was riding on the subway. There were pictures of it in the paper. And then just earlier this week, there was a raccoon downtown that got up on one of the cranes and he like climbed to the top. And my aunt had heard about this on the news and she was telling me that they called the fire department. They're like, there's a raccoon. And the fire department's like, it's not our job. Call wildlife control. So they call wildlife control and wildlife control's like, he'll come down. So they put food out for him and he came back down. A lot of people consider them a nuisance, but I think they're adorable. They're highly intelligent. And I just think they're super duper sweet. I know that they would attack you at a moment's notice, but in my mind, they're adorably cute and I just want to give them big hugs. But I wouldn't. Number 6, aside from, have you ever been inside a cathedral? If more than one, do you have a favorite? No, I have not. There are a couple of them downtown, but I've never had any reason to be inside of them. I actually prefer the little small country churches, which is what I got married in, which was a very small United church a few towns over. And it was just so cute. I think it held like maybe 100 people. No, not even. Maybe 60 people. And it was just lovely. Like those small little churches just make me happy because they're adorable. Have you ever, number 7, have you ever been actually seeing and hearing things delirious? Yes, I have. I know that years ago I got really sick with food poisoning, like really sick with food poisoning. And my husband told me later I was doing pirouettes around the living room unsuccessfully. Yeah, I've been there. It's not pleasant. Number 8, do you have blood relatives who read for pleasure? The shorter list would be, do I not? And my mom and dad, my brother, my mom's sister, my dad's one sister, almost the whole family. All four, yeah, I can count. All 4 of my grandparents were avid readers. It was funny, a little bittersweet, but my husband and I went to a used bookstore on Monday, and the girl, like, it's one of those places where you can give books back for credit. I never give books back. I'm like, I just want the books. And she asked if I had an account. And I do, but I just thought, I guess I didn't know if you got points just for buying or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, and I gave her my last name, and she says, oh, nothing comes up. And I'm like, well, I thought to myself, I'm like, well, I've been going to this bookstore since I was a kid. So maybe it's under my maiden name. So I gave my maiden name, and she says, no, she says, the only name we have is for Lawrence. And it was my dad. And I'm like, you know, like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, he was an avid reader. Number 9, how many species have you smooched smack dab on the lips? Of course, this came from Steve. The answer would be just humans. The cats get little kisses on their furry little heads. But yeah, that's the only other animal that has gotten smooches from me. Number 10. Do you ever listen to the radio? Any favorite program or person? Yes, I do actually listen to the radio in the car. In the mornings, I have my local radio station, which is KX96, which is a country station out of Durham region. And I love the Ellison Archer morning show. They are really great together. They're not like a shock jock. It's a country station. So, you know, but they're still funny and fun. And also on Sundays, that station plays the, the Crook and Chase Top 40 Countdown, which I like listening to as well. Number 11, have you ever been to the Eiffel Tower, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, or the Louvre? No, I have not. I've never been to Europe. Europe is on my bucket list. The only time I have quote-unquote been there is in books. Number 12, what's one little thing that you miss the most that you've lost due to the pandemic? It's seeing my best friend. We see each other very rarely to begin with, maybe 3 times a year, 4 times a year. And I haven't seen her since February. And we've had a long talk on the phone, like a good 2-hour long talk on the phone, but I miss being able to give her a hug because, you know, It's been a tough year on everybody, and I think people just need hugs. And yeah, I miss seeing her. Number 14. What is your relationship with small talk? Hate it like acid, love it, or merely I hate small talk. But I am also the kind of person who hates silence. I don't like, not, okay, I shouldn't say I hate silence, because Garrett and I will sit together for hours on end not saying a word to each other. But I hate uncomfortable silence. Like, if you're out with someone new or whatever and it's just quiet, it makes my skin crawl. I don't like it. And then I am the person who will make a fool out of themselves trying to strike up a conversation. Number 15, have you ever won money at gambling? Yes, I have. Gosh, 15 years ago? Because Dad would have been 70 this year, 71, 16 years ago. It was on Super Bowl Sunday. And my father used to throw this big Super Bowl party, and my mom would make chili, and all the guys would come over, and they would, have a few drinks and gamble and watch the game and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, they played like poker for like nickels and dimes. So my mom used to go to bingo all day. And yes, for those of you who've been watching me for a while, know that I do go to bingo, and I do enjoy going to bingo. And I was kind of in the house. I was still living at home, and my dad hands me $40, and he's like, go to bingo with your mother, go have fun. So off we went. So we're playing, and I won a game, and I didn't realize that it was a big game. $10,000. I won $10,000. I didn't realize that that's how much we were playing for. It was very, very exciting. And a fun side note, that here in Canada, if you have lottery winnings, you don't pay taxes on them. Not like in the States where they take like 30 or 40%. So that was pretty cool. Question 16. Have you ever given money or time to charities? My husband and I have tried to donate a bit here and there to the Toronto Humane Society. That is a big one. And also when we got married, instead of doing those little favors that you give to your guests, like a candle or some candies or something that nobody legitimately gives a care about. Let's be all realistic, people. Nobody cares about those gifts. They end up getting thrown away or whatever, or left at the table. So we had a budget for that because we were paying for everything ourselves for our wedding. That instead of buying useless favors, essentially, what we did was we donated the money to the Humane Society. And they gave us buttons of these little paws, like a little paw print. And we gave one of those to each person. And then we had a little note at the table saying, in lieu of guest, there's a word for what those things are called, those whatever. In lieu of those, we donated that money to the Humane Society. And then we also had a little jar or a little box set up near the gift table saying if you wanted to make an additional donation to the Humane Society, blah, blah, blah. And I think we donated like on top of what we gave. We had a very small wedding, you guys. We only had like 60 people. And we gave another $300 or $400 to the Humane Society, which was pretty cool. So like on top of what we gave them. So that was pretty nice. And, for those of you who are getting married or know somebody who's getting married, maybe think about doing that instead of like doing those like little gifts. Because I just think it's a better use of your money. Now, I'm not telling anybody what to do, of course not. But I just thought it was a really cute idea when I heard about it. So I just thought I'd share it with you guys. Do you craft? Knitting, crochet, woodworking, pottery throwing. I am a knitter. I am an avid knitter. If you guys have been watching me, at the end of all of my vlogs, I show off what I've been knitting. I have many, many knitting projects on the go, and I've been knitting for about 7 years now, maybe. And I actually got my start on YouTube doing a knitting podcast that I did for like 4 years. If you're interested, there has not been anything uploaded up there in like 4 years. But if you're interested in going back and watching any of those, feel free. It's the Canadian Knitter. I will leave it linked below. All those videos are still up on the channel. So feel free to go and have a look if you're interested. Do you talk to yourself when you're alone? That's not a thing that everybody does. I legitimately just have a running monologue in my head all the time. 19. Are you a queen bee in college? No, I was not. I kept to myself. I, just kind of did my thing, and I wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible. I am not I've never really cared for school. I mean, I like doing English and all those things, but in general, school was not social for me. School was school, you know? So, I mean, I had my friends, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't this big social thing like you see on TV, you know, with parties and this and cheerleading and blah, blah, blah. That wasn't me. And number 20, are you a sunrise person or a sunset person? I like the sunset. I'm a night owl. I am an early riser as well, but I am very much a night owl. And, you know, I love sitting and watching the sun go down. I think it's really, really pretty, especially back when my grandparents had a cottage. I used to love going up there in the summertime and sitting on the deck and watching the sun go down. It was just so, so pretty. But extra long video. I do hope that you guys enjoyed this. Again, thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you, all my friends, you know, who comment, who chat, who have befriended me. So yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm thoroughly enjoying doing this. And again, I thank you all so very much. And I will talk to you all in my next video. Take care and happy reading, everybody. Bye.